Hello and welcome to
Powered by
Behind the Curtain
Riverside
Exploring
FM.
with Jack. Today we're going to be talking about Disney's old attraction called Cranium Command, and most importantly, the stolen animatronic named Buzzy that goes along with it. Now, if you don't know anything about this case, or you don't know who Buzzy is, then get prepared because there's a lot of background and history about this case. Let's start from the beginning. So, Cranium Command was basically this old attraction at the Wonders of Life Pavilion at Disney World's Resort's Epcot theme park. This attraction opened on October 19th of 1989, only for it to be closed permanently in January of 2007. The ride was basically about piloting this 12-year-old boy's human brain, and our pilot was this animatronic named Buzzy. During this ride, Buzzy was supposed to be this first day on the job, clumsy type of character. He was an extremely cheerful character, and they attempted to make him as human-like as possible, which they successfully did during the ride's prime. Now, this was a more theatrical show themed ride with all sorts of cool audio and visual effects, and we all know how well Disney does with this sort of thing, especially back in the late 80s and early 90s. This was a huge hit for Disney. People loved this ride. But like I said, it was unfortunately closed because Disney actually lost its sponsorship with MetLife, and Disney basically didn't have any more sponsorship money to keep maintaining it. And this basically led to the ride's closure in 2007, and there it sat. And it still sits to this day, frozen in time. And to that point, this leads me to my next point. Since the ride is still sitting there, Disney basically just left everything behind in the Cranium Command section. The pavilion was later used for events and other gatherings, but the actual Cranium Command ride was still located inside of the pavilion right behind closed doors. And yes, you guessed it, Buzzy was still back there, collecting dust, rotting away, and forgotten about. Now, usually, Disney is all about occupying the space that they have. And we all know that Disney has tons of land and utilizes it quite well if you've ever been to the Disney parks. But I believe Disney kind of just left this space forgotten about just because it wasn't all too popular section of the park. Which also leads me to my next point. Since the attraction has been abandoned and forgotten about, it still remained, which piqued urban explorers' interests. Many people would sneak back into the attraction and take photos of the old attraction, and more importantly, the old Buzzy animatronic. And once these photos of this old abandoned Disney animatronic surfaced, it gained a lot of attention, and no one really believed that Disney would just leave an old $500,000 animatronic just sitting there. But they did, and soon enough, that led to the December of 2018 theft of the abandoned animatronic we all know as Buzzy. This is a very strange case because at first the actual animatronic wasn't stolen. Only the gloves and the big green hat that were on the animatronic were stolen, which raised a lot of eyebrows for Disney staff. And since it was just a pair of gloves and a hat that was just sitting on the animatronic, there's not much damage being done there. But once the actual animatronic went missing, like the entire thing, that's when the case took an extra step forward. So, the way it went was that one of Disney's staff members was walking through the old attraction and noticed that the animatronic was missing. Now, this is not a common thing for Disney, by the way. They're pretty tight with security, and I can bet you that since this animatronic was stolen, they are most likely way more strict about their security now. But anyway, a Disney staff member was walking through the old Wonders of Life pavilion, specifically through the old Cranium Command attraction, and noticed that the animatronic was missing. Now, just to make this clear, the animatronic was huge. It may look small in the photos I'm showing you, but this animatronic was actually hoisted on this platform that you see in these photos, 6 feet in the air, and the animatronic weighed close to 400 pounds. So it definitely was not a one man job. Now, you might be thinking that Disney's Imagineers just took him down, but this is not the case. It's about the way that the animatronic was removed. Obviously, a lot of Disney's animatronics are controlled by hydraulics and other technology, but Buzzy was controlled mainly through these heavy duty hydraulic wires. And as you can see in this photo, these wires were unprofessionally slashed, which led to hydraulic fluid getting all over the floor of the theater.